Public Defender Service Corporation Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 will be called to order. Will roll please be called by the Administrative Director?
Yes, Your Honor. First, Chairman Chief Justice Torres.
I'm present and appearing virtually.
Vice Chairman Presiding Judge Lamorena.
Present, and I'm from Judicial Center.
Thank you. Member Guam Bar Association President Attorney Jackie Terlahi.
She's not here right now.
Okay. Member Trustee Ms. Donna Munya Kanata.
I'm here at my office here in East Agana.
Thank you. And Member Trustee Dr. Christiana Whitman.
Present, also appearing virtually.
We do have a quorum. 4 of the 5 members are present. Notice of the meeting was published in the Daily Post and in the PDSC portal on the 18th and 21st. The first item on the agenda that needs action is the approval of the minutes from January 28th. Can I entertain a motion to approve those minutes? And let the record reflect that Attorney Terlahi is also here, so all members are present.
I approve, subject to correction.
Second.
There's been a motion made to approve the minutes of January 28th. It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 There being no objection, those meeting minutes are approved subject to correction. We're now under old business and we'll get the financial status update and the allotments.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon to the board. PDSC is operating at 90%, whereas APD is at 91%. This week is payroll week and we anticipate another allotment release. PDSC has also received a February release for CLC at 81,940, and as of today for a total received since October of 2024 of 397,739. CLC will use the local funds to cover the expenses starting in January 2025. These expenses have yet to be calculated and will be provided at a later date. Now going to CLC, the EJC, for EJC, Fiscal has issued invoices to DPHSS for November 2024 through January 2025 for 18,914 each month, and payments have not been received as of today. We also requested DOA to send a copy via email of the payment voucher request submitted to Bank of Guam so we are able to determine which programs are being paid. Presently, we are receiving these vouchers via mail from the USPS. And for ICJR, PDSC is still at status quo and payments will be confirmed as soon as DOA sends us a copy of each payment voucher requested to be Bank of Guam. For January 2025, PDSC is waiting for the signed amendment from GCOFPO or the Governor's Office before an invoice can be issued. The balance as of today is 14,254. For stock, PDSC is also at status quo and will be used again after ICJR is exhausted in March of 2025. The balance as of today is at 13,328. We are following up with payments for the invoice submitted for November and December 2024 with the Governor's Office. For WestCare, PDSC has issued a January invoice for $910 for services, but has not received the payment. And that is all for the financials.
Any questions of Mike about the financial report? There being none, we'll hear from the PDSC Executive Attorney, Steve.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, Chief Justice, Board of Trustees. So we have our stats here for January. We picked up 111 cases, there were 51 closed, but those closed, include ones where probation was, successfully completed. I think the next page actually shows our true pre-trial caseload, which is about 1,960. And of those, 823 are bench warrants. And we actually broke it down to show how many people are released on cash bail, how many are detained. And these numbers change daily, right? How many are released on electronic monitoring? And how many are on personal recognizance? And or third-party custodian. We also included our electronic monitoring report that's goes back all the way to last year, but it as of February 17, 2025. So this is, it's quite a lengthy report. Just showing that we applied 107 times. Sometimes 26 were eligible, 51 were ineligible. Oftentimes, when they're deemed ineligible, we can still advocate for their release on EM, and many times it's granted, right? That's why we have, although there's 51 ineligible, we have 37 that were granted and 16 that were denied. So those are just a report on our caseload.
Predominantly, Steve, when one is deemed ineligible, what is the primary reason for ineligibility?
Well, one of them is if they have a warrant from a prior case. So like we've had situations where they had a warrant in a case that was 5 years old and they successfully completed that case. So technically they don't qualify under the guidelines, but the magistrate judge or sometimes the assigned trial judge will kind of waive that disqualification. But that seems to be the main disqualifying reason.
Do you think those guidelines need to be reevaluated?
Oh, yes, I mean, our main argument that seems to prevail is the fact that they were released on their own recognizance and they successfully completed it. And but people who have been released on electronic monitoring, I think our numbers are showing that it's a very accurate and successful way of monitoring individuals. They have fewer violations, it seems. But hopefully we'll check with
The
probation.
ineligible numbers still seem pretty high.
Oh, yeah, yes, that's probably
And
the number one.
I'm just trying to understand what the cause of that is, and is there a way that, we maybe could look to reevaluate the eligibility guidelines, considering the success of the program?
Yes, we'll reach out to them and see if they can do that. I think another one, Mr. Martin brought up was that sometimes they have a violation when they're on a pretrial release, on EM, right?
Like a prior violation in a prior case, if it's within a certain time frame, I think they're disqualified.
Yeah, that's another one, prior violation on a prior case. So many of our clients, especially our drug clients, right, it's very rare to see someone with 0 violations. So if you have 1 violation and you were an ADC, that might make you ineligible in the future. So between warrants and prior violations, those seem to be 2 areas that are making people ineligible. But they're really
PJ, what are your
good
thoughts on that, PJ?
Yeah, I consider it pretty high too, but sometimes, we have a tough time getting a place for them to stay. I found out, especially in my caseload, there are a lot of homeless individuals or people that have been, where the victims are the people that they stayed with and they don't want anything to do with them. So that's very problematic for EM. I always try to encourage the defense counsels to use their investigators to find alternatives. If there's any close relatives or friends that are willing to take them in. Sometimes the third parties are not eligible for to meet their cognizance because their homes are inadequate. They don't have certain services that EM requires them to have, or they have prior cases themselves. So there's a lot of factors that promote high eligibility.
And I have to admit that the court's been pretty flexible in terms of requiring a landline. Before, if you didn't have a landline, you were ineligible, but now they're accepting cell phones as long as the cell phone is pretty much attached to the individual with the bracelet. So they're,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, the landline usually they don't really require it as much as they used to. Because now we have the electronic monitoring that can monitor the defendant's location. And then we can also monitor their cell phones to see where they're located.
All right. Is there anything else, Steve?
It's always worth looking into it, CJ, just to make sure we update the requirements and find out why people are not, we don't have as many people in EM than we should have. It's always good to update.
I mean, the
it.
two reasons, I mean, whether there's an existing prior violation or an old warrant, for example, if there's ever been an outstanding warrant, renders someone ineligible, even though they may have, been released on that warrant and satisfied the conditions. It doesn't seem like maybe that's an appropriate case to not allow EM, but so maybe we can just re-examine those guidelines and ask probation to look at them again.
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow, so we should bring up that issue.
All right,
Okay.
I will. We'll ask Danielle to add it. Anything else, Steve? Otherwise, we'll go to APD Managing Attorney.
thank you, Honor.
Thank you.
Good
Annie?
afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. This is the stats for January 1st, 2025 to January 31st, 2025. We also have added the calendar year up to date. So right now we've gotten appointed 159 cases, and just shows the trend of open cases and closure orders for the past 6 years or so. So last year we actually had the most cases we've had in a while. So we had 515 cases. This stat does not show our EMP, but I'll have that for the next board meeting. But I agree with the CJ, I think, and the PJ. I think we do need to look at for the EMP why so many of our clients can't or are ineligible is because of a prior warrant. Doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago, if they have a prior warrant, they will not be able to get EMP. And so I would request that that would be looked at again, at least to see what the trend is for the EMP people. I mean, some people, what they do is they do violate the rules, such as cutting off their monitors. But for the most part, a lot of our clients will have prior history, and that disqualifies them. But other than that, we're on track with everything, Your Honor. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
All right. Any questions for Annie?
Well, I have a concern to both Steve and Annie.
Yes, Your Honor.
As you know, I'm a stickler on treatment courts. And very recently, there have been a lot of defendants that have been declared eligible by the Attorney General's office, legally eligible, to go into treatment courts. I've noticed, at least in my courtroom, and I think in other courtrooms, that there is a substantial delay in the defense counsel's handling these people to go into clemency screening and to get change of pleas. I can identify, if you want me, at least in my hearings, 10, 7 or 8 from the public defender, and at least 3 or 4 from the APD. And I'm glad that Annie Gale took over those cases because she was quick. The attorney that was in charge was very slow and didn't see the seriousness of the matter. But when Annie took over, all 3 of them got into treatment. So thanks, Annie, for taking it personally. And public defender, you're too slow. So please, when you get these legal eligibility, act fast, because the quicker these people get to treatment, the results are better. So Steve and Annie, can you talk to your staff, your attorneys?
I can address that real quick, Your Honor.
Yes.
So the issue has been, and Steve doesn't necessarily cover ADC, but what has happened is they've changed the system simply to allow client services to be a part of the process. And so that has been one of the stumbling blocks, is to actually have the actual transport order and whatnot. And I have been able to work with the ADC people as well as the court staff, including your staff, Your Honor. That's why we've been able to get the orders done. And so it's a growing pain, in the sense that because ADC is so big and we have so many clients that need the treatment component, we need to be able to have the process seamless. And it's just taken us a little while to get that process going. So it's getting better, but I agree with you. And I'm with you, PJ, because you're right. It is taking our clients a little too long to get out of jail just to start their treatment. But we're working on it, and we're working with the ADC people to alleviate that. So thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you, Annie, and I hope, Steve, you follow.
Oh, yeah,
Route,
definitely,
because
Your
we have
Honor.
a higher number of cases than
I'm
ABD.
in the drug court with Judge Talentino, and I can tell you that we do not get legal assessments at the earliest opportunity. We usually wait a few months, but once we get a legal eligibility, in fact, I get my clients to sign plea agreements before there's a legal eligibility, because I know they're legally eligible, and then I have to wait for the system to catch up. So we'll work on that, Your Honor, but I know that we can always be a little more zealous, so we'll talk to the troops.
Okay,
But
so I'd
it's
like to
not
see
really
maybe,
just our problem. You
yeah,
know,
I know
our-
individual prosecutors too are affected, and I'm glad that I have a more aggressive prosecutor in my courtroom. I don't know about the other courtrooms, but my prosecutor has been very aggressive. That's why we have a backlog now on clinically screening, because he's so fast in evaluating all those people. So, okay, I'd like to sit with both of you and so we can, because client services did interject recently, and it's sort of slowed the process a little bit. But we'll try to speed it up again. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's my only concern.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
CJ.
Is there anything else, Annie?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. If not, then we'll hear from Carol, CLC Managing Attorney.
Good afternoon, everyone. So our stats have been provided. We continue to remain on track. Pages 17 and 18 is our Civil Law Center numbers and our Elder Justice numbers. 19 is our veterans, our at-risk grant. That's basically you'll see a 0 on that one, because those are actually referral based, and that's why it's 0. It's we only bill based on the number of clients that's referred to our office through the West Care program. And then our page 20 is our advocacy stats that are provided under our that's the stop, that's a protective order statistics. But again, we continue to remain on track there. I do want to discuss, and maybe at the next meeting, produce the report, but the civil legal needs assessment, there's been 197 that have completed the actual assessment. And most of them, I think the range is about 115 of them that are actually indigents that completed it. And we're looking at the priority level. I was able to speak with Micronesian Legal Services. I don't know what the impact is with respect to federal grants for them, but I was able to speak with them, and I'm going to speak with Guam Legal as to the services they provide. I know Guam Legal is very specific to disability cases, and then they have protective orders. But Micronesian Legal identified the types of services that they offer, which kind of coincide with our needs assessment on priority areas that we'll be requesting to expand in the future. And when I say expand, I mean, it's going to be, of course, indigent qualified applicants, but also based on our resources, it would be matters that would be uncontested at this time. But I also wanted to throw out to the board, because our elder justice does allow us to provide other services, not just the services that we currently provide, but it allows us to provide other services to the elderly. I'm looking at also expanding in that area, because they do provide us the grant money, and we are capable of handling certain types of services. As I mentioned, identified, like Micronesian Legal Services provides guardianships, which we also do. They do divorce, custody, paternity, adoption, name change, public benefits appeals, name corrections, bankruptcy, landlord, tenant, but they only represent the tenant, similar to what our office does. Probate, social security benefit appeals, immigrations, contract fraud, power of attorney, and wills. They actually, when I spoke with them, they actually also support our office providing those types of services, as well as they indicated they're not capable of handling the population on Guam, the indigent population on Guam with those services, and would need a second office doing those similar services. So that's something that we're looking at, hoping to address at the next meeting, as we like to expand those services to include similar services that were just mentioned.
Okay, any questions? All right.
Just a request, if I
Okay.
may. Carol, if I can ask you to send us the list, right, of the areas that everyone covers, since you've gathered it with micro legal and so forth, so we can list serve it on the bar, so that we can have kind of the running list, so that when attorneys get a request in for legal services and they're unable to do it, that we can provide that as a service.
Okay, I was actually gonna, I'm gonna do that. I was actually gonna do that. I know I'm on that committee that we're gonna meet on, so I was
Yes, we're meeting soon.
correct. I was actually gonna do that, and I was also gonna work with our IT. So when I do start on that pro se litigant bank form that we're gonna do also here, it's gonna direct them to those proper agencies as well. Like if they come in and they ask for disabilities, it's gonna refer them to like Guam Legal. So that's something we're looking at, and I'm gonna work with our IT to see if we have the capability. And I think we do. I mean, they've been pretty good at meeting everything that I've asked them. So that's what we're hoping to establish.
Right, awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, just one question, Carol. You know, in the beginning, when you started the program, you went out to all the senior citizen centers. to
Yes.
educate them about the program. Are you continuing that
Yeah.
that outreach?
Yes, we are, Your Honor. Basil's
Okay.
been out working hard. We put him to work. He's actually at 2 senior centers a week, Your Honor. So
Very good.
we have that, and it's in anticipation of the elderly awareness. The month is coming up in May. So we've been actually at it. I think he's been at it since the end of the year, going to senior centers. We also do other outreaches at the malls, and then we also did an outreach at the University of Guam.
Yeah, can you list that down in your report so that we can you can update us on your outreach program?
Yes,
Because
we'll
that's
do,
really
Your Honor.
helpful, especially for senior citizens who don't know how to use a computer.
Yeah, and then for the 50th coming up, I think we're also going to start media outreach as well. So I know that Kat Moylan has me set to work on something for one of the media outlets.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, they can go to home and hospital visits. I think they had like 24, right, Carol?
Yes, we have a lot. And so when we get those calls, we actually were within the next hour or so, my team's launched out to either GRMC or GMH. If we have a actual homebound that was sent over by a social worker from HSP or one of the other agencies, my team's out already the same day.
Okay, and were you able to work out that conflict issue where, public defender represents one of the parents in a PIDS case, and then APD represents the other parents, and then you guys are appointed guardian ad litem? Just to clarify that, because we're separate divisions without
Correct.
access. Okay.
I'm going to talk to Judge Ingalls on that, because we've been getting the appointments now, and I think you guys been getting the appointments as well on the other cases. So that was just that one particular case, but I'll speak to her again. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right, any questions? Any more questions for Carol? If not, is there anything on the Sixth Amendment Center under old business?
Well, Chief, so we did meet with some of the court management staff, and they actually spent quite a bit of time explaining the private attorney panel and the amount of work involved. And so we have a better idea of what to expect. We also are awaiting some proposed changes they had for the draft bill that we've all been working on. And so once we get that, we'll update it, and hopefully we'll obviously present it to the board at either the next board meeting, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that legislation ready for presenting to the board for review at the next meeting, and then looking to transmit it to the oversight chair.
And so the Sixth Amendment Center, I guess they have some anti-lobbying provision that prohibits them from testifying or talking about it once it's introduced, but prior to it being introduced, they could cooperate and participate fully if at a board meeting of the, if.
So we, maybe that'll be something that we can entertain, is that they can do that, and maybe we'll invite our oversight chair to the next meeting and have them explain the process for, but we'll probably meet with them in advance and then look to have them come to the next meeting maybe. But let's see how where the legislation is. And if it's ready, we can circulate it.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
All right. Okay, then we're on to new business, the 50th Jubilee.
Okay, I could speak to that. So we, July 9th, 10th, and 11th, we're having a conference. So the last time we had a conference was at the end of 2023. And so we're bringing out a couple speakers, trainers in the area of criminal law, and we might also get a juvenile defense expert also. It's gonna be scheduled for July 9th, 10th, and 11th, and we've sent letters around to the justices and all the judges. And so we anticipated providing at least 10 or 12 hours of CLE. And so it's 2 days
Did
with.
you get a letter, PJ? I
did
didn't
not.
recall. I didn't recall getting a letter.
Oh, okay, well, we'll confirm it. It might have been sent by email and then it was supposed to be hand delivered either yesterday or the day before.
Can you save a date to Steve?
July 9th, 10th, and 11th. And we're working on the agenda. We met with the Sixth Amendment Center. So they actually are interested in also coming out at the same time to help us celebrate, and also, but they're gonna fly out on their own dime and provide additional I guess participation in any panel discussions we have with them. So I think both David Carroll and Aditi both want to visit Guam. I guess their grants are not federally funded apparently, so they might be able to join us either in July or even before that. But we'll keep the board notified if they actually do come out before July. But the plan was to have them participate on the Friday session. Then we'll ask the governor and the legislature to present their proclamations and their resolutions. And then we'll also invite alumni and other attorneys that used to work for our office and staff.
And the Judicial Council will as well. Judicial Council will recognize the PDSC's anniversary. And you should probably coordinate with the Guam Bar in terms of the CLE. Unless your intent is to not open it up and just have it for defense attorneys.
Yeah, we are gonna ask the Guam Bar to approve it for CLE, but it will be limited to our attorneys as well as the private attorney panel members. Just as I mean, they're already working for below market rate, so we figure we should try to provide some CLE to them.
All right, any questions? So the 9th, 10th, I already put it in the calendar. And I'll look for that letter, but I didn't see it come in at least yet.
And once we get the agenda finalized, we'll circulate it to all the judges.
Okay.
Steve, can
All
you
right, is
also
there
add
anything else?
Yeah, Steve, can you also add the Mayor's Council to your agenda, since there are the first responders to our community?
Okay.
Okay. At least to
Yes.
the opening ceremony, where you invite the legislature and the governor.
All right, if there's nothing else on the Jubilee, then there's nothing under public discussion. And move to adjourn by PJ. Is there a second?
Nobody wants to
Second.
adjourn?
Second by Trustee Whitman. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
There being
Aye.
no objection. Our next meeting is March 25th. All right, everyone, take care.
Everybody have a
Bye-bye.
good day.
Bye.
Bye.